Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here and welcome back to the Mixing in a Home Music Studio course. In this video, we're going to talk about gain staging. So firstly, if you are new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So gain staging the audio. Okay, so in the previous videos, previous part, there was, I went into the theory and the concepts of gain staging, right? So I'm not gonna cover that again. In this video here, we're gonna actually do the process, right? So we're gonna take our project, our session that we've already set up, so our song. We've got our session set up now. We've imported our audio. Now the next step for me is to gain stage that audio. So we're going to actually do that. I'm going to do that on my song, and then hopefully you'll follow along and do it on your song as well. So we're going to get into that now, and I'm going to show you the process and take those theories and actually apply it to basically the real world. This is a real song, so we're going to apply it to the real world. So let's just get into it and I'll show you how I do it. All right, so we've got a project open and now we're going to do our gain staging here. Now, the first thing I want to do is work on the actual audio files themselves. Now, my suggestion to you, first off, because this is a mess and it's going to be very loud, is I would come in here and either turn down your speakers or turn down your mix bus to 0. Just so you don't hear anything, okay? We don't need to hear anything at this stage. What we're going to do is just set the clip gain of the audio itself. Now, there's a couple of ways we can do that, and depending on if you have software or anything like that. So I have other videos on YouTube again that go into detail about gain staging, but if we were using some sort of analog emulation or something like that, like I would do on a lot of my mixes, like with this virtual console channel here, I might use the VU meter on here to do my clip gain, right? So in the case of here, I might solo my overhead, and I've got it placed on my overhead, and I would basically put my starting point in around the loudest part of the audio file. So let's just say there, I would play it, and then I could adjust the clip gain to suit by boosting it. Okay, so that's clearly not the loudest. We go to there, and we might boost it to get it up to the 0 VU sort of sweet spot there. Now, if you're not using something like that, you might have a VU meter plugin, something like that. So you might pull up this one here. Again, so this is set to -18 for 0. And I'll play the audio again and adjust the clip gain. Now, depending on your software, depends on how you adjust the clip gain. In Cubase, we can just do it from here directly. And you just want to sort of get it roughly sitting around the 0 maybe. If you don't want to boost it, that's fine. It's totally up to you and your taste. I would definitely look at reducing it if it's clipping, so we'll go through all of that. Now, the other thing that you could do is if you want to use that and you don't have any plugins, you can just use your meter over here. Okay, so we're going to do this from the project window mainly because we can see our audio files. Now, all I've done is pulled up the channel settings page here with the E option here, and we can see that there's a meter here, right? So we can have a look at this meter and just sort of see the level we're getting on the meter and just find a nice spot that we think is not too loud and not sort of too soft. So, you might want to just get the average sitting somewhere here, but it depends on the meter you have in your software. Again, this meter is not exactly the same. It's a peak meter. It's not a VU meter as such. But what we don't want to see is red, okay? You want to see a healthy level, but not red. And we would just go through each one of these tracks and just get the audio file sitting somewhere that we like. Right, so we can reset these pointers here. Again, you might say, okay, that's a bit too loud for this. If we followed this VU meter, we might want to set it somewhere down here. Technically down here is minus 18 dB, but because this is a peak, it sits a bit higher. Because you could see what happened in the other meters. Now, if you don't want to do it from the clip gain here, you can do it from this pre-gain setting here. So we could be playing our music and add or subtract pre-gain. It's a similar concept. I just like doing it in the audio because it also makes the audio appear visually louder. So for instance, if I put that back to where it was, we'll drop it back down to 0. You can see how small that waveform is. Obviously we can expand the window there, but it's quite small. Now, if I was to do my adjustment with the pre-gain, it has no impact on this visual of the audio file. Right, you can go as loud as you want or as soft as you want. It has no impact whatsoever. So that's one other reason why I like to do it in the clip gain here, because it visually increases the audio file. Now, in my case here, I usually use something like the Slate one or the VUMT. So I'm just going to pull that up now, and I'm just going to compare it to the Cubase option here and just see what we get. So you can see here it's quite low. It's almost like you need to bring this up. Now, it could be that the drums here are very dynamic. Now you can see that sort of peaked and jumped over. So what I'll actually do is let me find something that's a bit more consistent. And I'll go to this bass DI. I just want to compare our meter here. So if we bring that in, see, it's not consistent either, but you can see it's sort of jumping up. There's a few spikes there. It's sitting about the 9. So it's fairly consistent. So I'd say target about here. Probably on this meter. Looks pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through these. So I'm just going to actually unsolo all these because we don't need it in solo. I'm just going to go through this drum again. Alright, we're going to just reduce it a bit because it was a bit hot. And it doesn't have to be exact, right? We're just looking for a comfortable level. Take that plugin off. Now, if I leave the E on when I switch channels, it does automatically switch. So we might reduce the kick a little bit, making sure we're in a nice sort of hot spot here. And then we basically just run through all of them doing the same thing. That's pretty good. Now when it gets to things like toms, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because they are very dynamic. That's probably pretty good actually. That one's good. Okay, that maybe can come down a tiny bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Hi-hat's usually a tricky one because it's usually very quiet. And obviously the room is usually quiet as well. Yet in this case, it's not. Okay, then we got the electronics. So I'm just gonna run through all of them and do this same process. Adjusting these audio files, just get them up to a spot I'm happy with. The most critical part of this is actually making sure that you're not clipping. That's more than anything. Like I said, if you don't want to do volume increases, I'm okay with that. Some people will say that you need to do it to get the sweet spot on a plugin and that sort of stuff. And in some cases, if you're doing analog emulation, that is true. Or if you're using any outbound gear, you want to get it right. But if you're not using any of those and you're doing this fully digital, then boosting the volume is not always necessary, unless you're struggling to get the volume you need in your track or using your fader and you're running out of room. But if you're not, then it's more about making sure that we don't clip. But I do like to do a little boost as well. I like to get everything a bit more consistent and flat. Right, so we've gone through and I have gain staged all the audio files. Now, unless you change an audio file or a track, you should never have to come back to that part again. The rest of the gain staging, where we gain stage the next level where our buses are, that will change as we mix. Okay, so we could adjust that now and just, I guess, to show you the process. It's pretty much identical, but what we're talking about now is we're gain staging all of these tracks going into the bus. So if we have a look at our drum bus, for instance, right, we can see if I was to play a spot, let's find a spot that makes sense, sort of here, we can see the level our drums are coming in. So we would say, okay, well, what I want to do now is I'm going to select all the drums and I'm actually going to reduce their volume. So we might go over to the mix window to do that. And we can do the quick link option and I could reduce the level of all the drums to get the gain staging on the bus to the level we want. Now, what I would probably do is, and we will do this, but I just want to explain it in this video just so we go. I would actually do this after I do my first rough mix, right? Because we're going to change the balance of these drums. So there's no point really gain staging the drums as they are now, all right? So I'm going to put them back to 0, but we'll do that through all of these. So we will, do the bass. So we'll have a look at the bass bus. So we'll just come and look at these buses with the audio playing and we will adjust their gain staging coming into our bus. Then once we've done all of the buses here, we will then gain stage the buses to the mix bus, right? Because we also want to make sure that the audio coming out of all of these buses is not clipping the mix bus. So that would be the step after that. So I'm going to actually show that in the next video. So the next video we're going to go through and do our rough mix. And then during the rough mix, what I will do is I will show the next step of the gain staging, which will be this part, getting the buses right and getting the mix bus right. Now, as I said, this is something that you will check later in the mix as well, because as you start adding effects and EQ and compression, things may start to change. So you want to do some tweaks to this to get to a final stage, but that will also be a last final gain stage section that we will do at the end of the process. But during this one, we're also, during the next one, we're going to do a quick first go at our gain staging so that we're not clipping any of the tracks. So there you go. That was gain staging the audio, gain staging in my song. So, hopefully you will follow along at the end of this and do it in your song. Yeah, if you have any comments or feedback, put it in the comments below. And if you do have any questions, or as you try the process or anything else, or if something was not clear in the video, please do ask a question, no matter how simple or detailed it is. Do put it in the comments. I will attempt to answer every comment that I possibly can as soon as I possibly can. I do read them all. So, feel free to put anything there, even if you just want to give feedback or, criticism. If you feel there's valuable criticism, put it in the comments. I value everything that's in the comments, as long as it's not just an attack, as long as it's useful information, whether it be negative or positive. I read them all, and they all help me progress, improve, learn, as well as teach. So, do put them in the comments. I do read them all, as I said. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully the video has been helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.